neighborhood. And federal prosecutors say shot caller Juan Romero, known as Termite, put dealers on shifts so drugs could be sold on the street 24 hours a day.
Man facing charges. Tupac Shakur, Dwayne Davis, was back in court today. At the center of this case lately has been the way Davis posted bail this year, using money from a producer who allegedly offered Davis the bail in exchange for exclusive television rights.
California has long been home to some of the most notorious and influential gang leaders in the United States, shaping the violent and lucrative underworld of organized crime within the state. This collection of profiles delves into the lives and criminal legacies of 5 significant figures: Ezequiel Romo, Royo Castellanos, Vincent Chente Garcia, Duane Keith Keffe D Davis, and Juan Termite Romero. Each of these leaders, from Romo's bloody reign over the Blythe Street Gang to Davis's involvement in the infamous demise of Tupac, played pivotal roles in their respective organizations. The stories illustrate the extreme violence, power struggles, and eventual downfalls that characterize the gang landscape in California.
The Little Psychos, a faction of the 18th Street Gang, got a cut. Every drug dealer paid a tax or rent for permission to operate here on LA's West Side during the 90s. The message was simple. 18th Little Psychos owned this neighborhood. And federal prosecutors say shot caller Juan Romero, known as Termite, put dealers on shifts so drugs could be sold on the street 24 hours a day.
Once a prominent leader of the 18th Street Gang in Westlake, Juan Termite Romero shook down drug dealers and controlled the streets of Los Angeles in the 1990s. His criminal reign came to a halt when he turned government witness in a major racketeering case, helping send dozens of gang members to prison. However, Romero's past has come back to haunt him, as he now faces charges in a 1993 arson of 10 people, including 7 children and 2 pregnant women. Romero, now 57, had been in witness protection for years, living under an alias far from his old life. But Los Angeles County prosecutors recently brought him out of hiding, accusing him of setting the fire that destroyed a crowded apartment building on Burlington Avenue. Romero appeared in court to face 12 counts of deletion, deferring his plea. The man once feared on the streets now looked vastly different older, wearing an orange jumpsuit, his tattoos a faint reminder of his gang days. Romero is the last of 4 defendants to be charged in connection with the fire. He had been a fugitive since 2016, narrowly avoiding capture when detectives found he had fled his Phoenix home just days before they arrived. Although details of his recent arrest remain unclear, Romero was extradited from Mexico and booked into the Los Angeles County Jail in December. The charges stem from the May 3, 1993, arson of a 3-story apartment building in Westlake, a neighborhood notorious for its drug trade in the 1990s. Informants and witnesses tied the fire to a drug turf dispute involving the Columbia Lil Psychos, a clique of the 18th Street Gang. At the time, local drug dealers, or traqueteros, were paying rent to the gang for the right to sell drugs in the area. Joanna Lopez, a former dealer and key witness, testified that Romero and another gang member, Ramiro Greedy Valerio, had confronted her about declining drug sales in the area. Lopez said she paid the gang $25,000 a week, but saw profits decrease after a new apartment manager reported drug activities to the police. When Lopez asked for a reduction in rent, Romero allegedly promised to take care of the problem. Hours later, the fire broke out. Witnesses described scenes of terror as residents, mostly immigrants from Mexico and Central America, leapt from balconies to escape the flames. Years later, fellow gang member Salvador Granados testified that Romero, Valerio, and another man burst into a nearby apartment with trash bags smelling like gasoline shortly after the fire began. Granados recalled hearing Romero say, "We messed up." However, the case remained cold for decades, with witnesses only coming forward after they themselves faced long prison sentences. Romero, who had become a key FBI informant, was protected during the FBI's racketeering case against his former boss, Francisco Puppet Martinez. Valerio also cooperated with federal authorities, helping bring down key 18th Street figures in exchange for a more lenient sentence. In 2013, the LAPD reopened the arson investigation, focusing on Romero and Valerio as prime suspects. Despite roadblocks in obtaining FBI records, detectives uncovered wiretap conversations implicating both men. Valerio was convicted of 12 deletions and sentenced to life in prison without parole in 2022. He has maintained his innocence, insisting he merely witnessed the fire.
Man facing charges Of Tupac Shakur, Dwayne Davis was back in court today. At the center of this case lately has been the way Davis posted bail this year, using money from a producer who allegedly offered Davis the bail in exchange for exclusive television rights to Davis's life story. Judge Carly Kearney denied Davis's bail again this morning, and afterward Davis spoke up, claiming the prosecution ordered corrections officers to attack him in his cell.
They brutally beat me up, they attacked me and assaulted me. And it was wrong. I told them I had cancer, and I'm on blood. Only ugly on the outside, but they ugly on the inside too.
Duane Keffe D. Davis lashing out at prosecutors during another hearing about releasing him on bail.
And you just use something in the boxes. They just use something in the boxes. From 1996.
Those boxes contain
Duane Keith, Keffe D. Davis, a former Southern California street gang leader, pleaded not guilty Thursday to deletion charges in the 1996 demise of rap icon Tupac in Las Vegas. Davis is the only person still alive who was in the car from which the shots were fired, and the first person to be formally charged in connection to the case, which has remained one of hip-hop's most enduring mysteries for 27 years. Standing in shackles before Clark County District Court Judge Tira Jones, Davis waved to his wife, son, and daughter in the gallery before entering his plea. When asked for his response to the charges, Davis simply said, "Not guilty." Originally from Compton, California, Davis was arrested on September 29 outside his home in suburban Henderson, following a search warrant executed by Las Vegas police in July. Davis remains in jail without bail and has not testified before the grand jury that indicted him, nor has he spoken with the media. The indictment claims that Davis supplied the firearm used in the fatal shooting, handing it to someone in the back seat of a Cadillac. The gunfire caused the demise of 25-year-old Tupac and wounded rap mogul Marion Knight, who was with Tupac at the time. Shakur met his demise a week later from his injuries. Prosecutors allege the shooting was tied to an East Coast-West Coast rivalry between gang-affiliated rap groups. The conflict escalated after a brawl earlier that day between Tupac and Davis's nephew, Orlando "Baby Lane" Anderson, at a Las Vegas casino. .40 caliber handgun that night, he stopped short of directly identifying Anderson as the shooter. Anderson, who denied involvement in Tupac, met his demise in a 1998 shooting in Compton. The driver of the Cadillac and another backseat passenger have also since met his demise. In his memoir, Davis revealed he cooperated with law enforcement in 2010, sharing what he knew about the demise of Tupac and his East Coast rival, the Notorious B.I.G., to avoid prosecution for himself and 48 other members of his Southside Compton Crips gang. Ezequiel Romo, a former leader of a Los Angeles street gang who gained national notoriety for ordering the demise of his own gang members, was fatally stabbed in prison. The 47-year-old Romo was attacked by 3 fellow inmates at Centinela State Prison in Imperial County on Sunday evening, according to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, CDCR. Romo was stabbed multiple times by Christian Moreno, 31, Johnny Garcia, 39, and Christian Hernandez, 41, using homemade weapons in a day room at the prison. Despite verbal orders from prison guards to stop the attack, the assailants continued, prompting officers to use pepper spray to subdue them. Romo was transported to an on-site medical facility and pronounced his passing hours later. Romo had been incarcerated at Centinela since August 2023, serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole for first-degree deletion and conspiracy to commit deletion, following his conviction in Los Angeles County. Romo, once the leader of the Blythe Street Gang in Panorama City, made headlines for ordering the demise of at least 8 people, including members of his own gang. He sought to eliminate what he considered dead weight within the gang, including drug addicts, informants, and rivals. Romo's rise to power came after nearly 2 decades behind bars on manslaughter charges, stemming from a fatal shooting at a fast food restaurant in the San Fernando Valley in 1995, when he was just 18. While in prison, Romo became affiliated with the Mexican Mafia, a notorious prison gang. Upon his release, he took control of the Blythe Street Gang, ordering them to sell drugs for the Mexican Mafia and collect taxes to elevate his standing within the criminal organization. Romo's leadership style was described as ruthless and obsessive. He micromanaged every aspect of the gang's operations, even ordering deletions for minor infractions, such as unsanctioned tattoos or drug use. If someone had something Romo desired, they were often than paid. The Los Angeles Times once noted his penchant for eliminating those he viewed as obstacles with a bullet in the back. Romo's criminal activities eventually led to his downfall. He was arrested after being caught with drugs in his car and continued to run his gang from behind bars. Ultimately, he was convicted in 2023 of first-degree deletion, conspiracy, attempted deletion, and other related charges, leading to his life sentence without parole. Romo's time at Centinela lasted less than a year before he was killed. His attackers Garcia, Hernandez, and Moreno are all convicted felons from Los Angeles County. Garcia and Hernandez are serving life sentences for first-degree deletion, while Moreno is serving a 20-year sentence for assault, making criminal threats, and escaping custody by force. Royo Castellanos, a former high-ranking member of the Mexican Mafia and leader of the Florencia 13 gang in Los Angeles, passed away last week from stomach cancer at the age of 64. Castellanos was granted compassionate release after serving 35 years in prison for 2 deletions, a rare legal action that freed him in May. Castellanos was only the 8th inmate to receive compassionate release this year in California's prison system, which houses around 95,000 people. He had been serving a life sentence for his role in 2 fatal stabbings in 1988. Castellanos' influence, however, extended far beyond his prison sentence, shaping the operations of his gang and the broader Mexican Mafia both inside and outside of prison. In writings recovered from his prison cell before his release, Castellanos laid out instructions to ensure the survival and continued influence of his gang after his passing. He proposed appointing 4 gang representatives, 2 younger members, 1 from middle school and 1 from high school, and 2 older members respected within the gang to maintain cohesion across generations. Castellanos reflected on the state of the Mexican Mafia, an organization riddled with infighting and competition over resources. He expressed frustration with the concentration of power and wealth among a small group of members, advocating for a more equitable distribution of gang territories and funds. Born in Mexicali, Mexico, Castellanos was brought to Los Angeles as an infant. He grew up in East Los Angeles, where he attended Andrew Jackson High School and worked a series of jobs before being sentenced to 6 years in prison for robbery at the age of 21. During that time, he said, he was programmed for violence, a transformation that led him deeper into the world of gang activity. In 1988, Castellanos was convicted of 2 deletions after a bar fight in San Bernardino. He stabbed Mark Vasquez, 22, and bar owner Tito Lechuga, 65, during a New Year's Eve altercation. Castellanos was sentenced to 21 years to life, and his connection to the Mexican Mafia was acknowledged in a 2000 parole hearing. During his 25 years in the highly restrictive security housing unit SHU at Pelican Bay State Prison, Castellanos, along with his brother Arturo Tablas Castellanos, continued to exert influence over Florencia 13 from behind bars. Their communications were closely monitored, but they managed to control their gang remotely, as law enforcement testified in various trials. In 2015, the California prison system's policies changed, releasing many inmates from solitary confinement and giving Mexican Mafia members more direct contact with their underlings. Castellanos wrote about the subsequent power grab as members rushed to claim territory, particularly in Northern California, once controlled by their rivals, the Nuestra Familia. Castellanos was critical of the way some members manipulated the Mexican Mafia's decentralized decision-making process, highlighting how coalitions would hold private meetings to overturn decisions they disagreed with. He expressed particular concern over the execution of Danny "Popeye" Roman, a prominent Mexican Mafia figure, despite Roman having enough votes to remain in good standing with the organization. Castellanos advocated for a return to the traditional structure of the Mexican Mafia, where members controlled only their own neighborhoods, and new territories were distributed equally among all members. He expressed a desire to contribute to this system, mentioning that he had connections in Northern California. In May, a retired judge granted Castellanos compassionate release, citing his terminal illness and his diminished capacity to pose a threat to society. He left prison with a wife waiting for him in Crescent City, along with 2 children and 6 grandchildren. Though Castellanos' life ended outside of prison walls, his influence on the Mexican Mafia and its operations will likely be felt for years to come. Vincent Chendi Garcia, 47, from Salinas, was sentenced to life in prison by Monterey Superior Court Judge Pamela Butler on Friday. His conviction was the result of Operation Snake Eyes, a 6-month investigation launched on March 21, 2013, aimed at dismantling the leadership of Norteño gangs in the Salinas Valley. Nuestra Familia, a notorious and violent prison gang involved in activities such as deletion, extortion, robbery, and drug trafficking, controls most of the Norteño street-level gangs in the region. The gang is headquartered in Pelican Bay State Prison, prosecutors said. At the time of his arrest, Garcia was the highest-ranking Nuestra Familia gang member in Northern California who was not in prison, according to prosecutors. Garcia's close associates, Johnny Soldier Boy Magdaleno, also faced sentencing on Friday after pleading guilty. Monterey County Judge Mark Hood sentenced Magdaleno, 27, of Salinas, to 46 years in prison for multiple crimes committed during a crime spree in 2013 and 2014. Magdaleno committed 2 robberies on January 29, 2013, and while awaiting trial in Monterey County Jail, he was involved in 2 attempted deletions. All his crimes were committed in collaboration with other Norteño gang members, prosecutors said. During Garcia's trial, evidence revealed that he directed local Norteño street gangs such as Salinas East Market, Fremont, and East La Casitas, and funneled money from their illicit activities up to the higher ranks. Garcia played a crucial role in the gang's drug trade by giving orders, recruiting members, and personally benefiting from the profits. On December 19, 2014, a jury found Garcia guilty of conspiracy to sell drugs and engaging in street terrorism for the benefit of the Norteños. Several other Norteño gang members and associates were convicted of felonies as part of Operation Snake Eyes. The lives of these former gang leaders reveal the destructive nature of criminal organizations, not only on the individuals involved, but also on the communities they terrorized. From prison stabbings to long-standing feuds, these figures experienced fleeting power before facing justice or violent retribution. While some sought redemption, such as Royo Castellanos' reflections on gang reform, others, like Ezequiel Romo and Juan Romero, met brutal ends. Together, their legacies serve as a reminder of the pervasive influence of gangs and the complex web of crime, loyalty, and violence that defines California's criminal underworld.